An application to write your business project. The idea is of a group of young Gabonese entrepreneurs. The objective is to optimize the work of incubators and financiers to help Gabonese self-employed. In Sudan, after the dismissal of President Omar al-Bashir by the army, the African Union and the United Nations call for a transition taking into account the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese. More than 5 million voters are expected this April 28 in Benin for the renewal of the 83 seats of the National Assembly. The campaign for the parliamentary is starting this Friday, whereas the opposition is already calling for justice. These are our top stories. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast. The fight against African swine fever is a major challenge for the pork sector in Côte d'Ivoire. With the upsurge of the disease since 2014, the rate of pig meat coverage by the national Ivorian production has dropped from 16 to 11% in 2017. Till date, there is no drug or vaccine against African swine fever. To prevent its spread, the only solution is to slaughter the herds in which the virus has been identified and then to incinerate their animals, and the farms must be also disinfected. The virus is transmitted mainly by physical contact. The Ivorian government has just decided to ban the movement of pigs in the infected regions. The marketing and consumption of this meat is also prohibited. Finally, the authorities ordered the slaughter of all pigs in the area. South Africa is also facing the epidemic, with an outbreak of African swine fever reported in a farm in the northwest region. This comes as good news for entrepreneurs in Gabon. From now on, it will be easier for the Gabonese entrepreneurs to carry out an economic and financial business plan. This is made possible through an application created by the new technology incubator, the Cyber School. According to its creator, the application is a real revolution and it will help future young businessmen and women to set up businesses and reduce the risks of usual failure. For future users, this new technology brings considerable added value to empowerment and entrepreneurship in Gabon. The initiative was well appreciated by Kamendao, the Gabonese Minister of Industry and National Entrepreneurship, who attended the presentation. The main objective of the business plan is to attract potential investors who will decide whether to go further in supporting projects financially. The business plan is a true leap of faith of the business creator. Having a business plan in a digital form is simply a reaffirmation of the reign of the information technology era. Like everywhere worldwide, Gabon celebrated the World Health Day this Thursday, April 7th, under the topic Universal Access to Quality Care for All and Everywhere. This is topical in the sense that it refers to the need for everyone to receive quality health care everywhere. Much more than a vision, this is a program that aims at taking the hospital structure further to the patient. According to Denis Mekamne, Minister of Health, if universal health coverage implies geographical proximity and affordability, this health action program requires better management of learning and a better reception in health structures. The World Health Organization aims by 2023 at reaching an additional 1 million people for access to care that meets the objective number 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals and invites to give the means to live a healthy life and promote the well-being of everyone at any age. Several countries and international organizations, including the United Nations and the African Union, are calling for a transition that abides by the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese following Omar al-Bashir's dismissal by the army. Thursday, in a statement, the chairman of the African Union Commission, Musa Faki Mahamat, expressed the belief of his institution that the power falling into the hands of the army is not the appropriate response to challenges ahead of Sudan. He also urged everyone to calm down and engage into an inclusive dialogue to create the conditions to meet the aspirations of the Sudanese people for democracy, good governance, and well-being. In the first place, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had called for a transition in line with the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese. He reiterated his call for calm and for everyone to hold back. A session behind closed doors is scheduled to take place today between the Security Council on the Sudan and 5 European countries, including France, the United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, and Poland. The United States will also take part in the emergency meeting. In a statement on TV, the Beninese President Patrice Talon announced in the evening the opening of the election campaign for the legislative elections. He declared he would like to ask the political leaders not to call to set the country on fire. This appeal comes after the exclusion of political parties from the opposition as a result of a new constitutional norm, which is too binding according to the opposition in a very tense political environment. The political parties are therefore asking for the intervention of the President Patrice Talon, who says he has no power to intervene and interfere in the political process. Since the exclusion of the opposition, the Beninese head of state is accused of working behind the scene for the situation to get to where it is. According to the Electoral Commission, only 2 parties of the presidential movement are allowed to take part in the next parliamentary elections in Benin, for being the ones to have fulfilled the conditions for participation. Surgical robots are on the rise despite unclear debate about their value added compared to their still high cost due to limited competition. But the situation could soon change. This is a robot equipped with 4 tentacles with pliers, scissors, and mini camera. Under the control of 2 surgeons immersed in 3D screens, they follow the action of the instructions they control with a kind of controllers and pedals. For doctors, this technological tool tends to facilitate their daily activity. This mode of surgical robot assist is no longer science fiction for a long time. For nearly 20 years now, the American group Intuitive Surgical, pioneer and world leader in the sector, has already installed more than 4,800 robots of its Da Vinci range in the world, including 144 in France. They have already been involved in more than 6 million surgical procedures worldwide. An application to write your business project. The idea is of a group of young Gabonese entrepreneurs. The objective is to optimize the work of incubators and financiers to help Gabonese self-employed. In Sudan, after the dismissal of President Omar el-Bashir by the army, the African Union and the United Nations call for a transition taking into account the democratic aspirations of the Sudanese. More than 5 million voters are expected this April 28 in Benin for the renewal of the 83 seats of the National Assembly. The campaign for the parliamentary is starting this Friday, whereas the opposition is already calling for justice. That's all for our newscast today. Stay tuned on Gabon 24 for more news.